Hey guys, welcome to your first session of the Union Executive. I am Ankana, your master teacher for social sciences at Vedantu, hoping all of you doing absolutely amazing. Let's get started without wasting any more time. So guys, let's quickly discuss the answer of the previous session. So the answer is Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Haryana, and people who have answered the fastest are Suchi Mama, Ashok Sharma and Divyanka Bhatt. Congrats guys, I'm so proud of you. People who have not been able to make it to the leaderboard, let me quickly tell you guys that you can have your names over here if you actually answer the questions given in the end of the session, at the end of the session, in the comment box, but not just in the live on the live chat. Yeah, okay, so this is basically the index for today. So we're going to start with the first part of Union Executive, okay, where we are going to discuss about President and his powers. So let's get started. Let's first understand who is the president. So the president is actually the head of state who has all the executive powers vested in him. Okay, he is also the chief commander, the most highest authority of the defense force of India. Now his powers that are vested in him, the powers that he executes these powers directly or indirectly. Now what do we mean by that? He may do it by himself, all the things, he may execute those powers by himself, or there are people who execute it on his behalf, and he usually make these decisions, or he executes these powers and everything in accordance with the Council of Ministers and the Prime Ministers. So everything that he does has to be done with the advice from the Prime Minister or the Council of Ministers. Without them, he cannot do anything. And why is that? Because bacha, he's not the absolute head, he's actually the nominal head of the country. And we will see how that is. Basically, the powers that he has is more of, as just the head of the state. The real powers are not given to him as such to be executed. Though he has all the constitutional powers, he can exercise authority and enforce law. But again, all of this has to be done in accordance with the Council of Ministers and Prime Ministers and with their advice. Now, who can be the president? What are the qualifications and eligibility criteria? So the very first thing is that the person has to be the citizen, has to be a citizen of the country, citizen of India, and should be above the age of 35 years. And the third most important criteria is that this person should be eligible, should be qualified enough for election as a member of Lok Sabha. Okay, he should be qualified that he can be a part of the election as a member of Lok Sabha. And that's what makes a person eligible for, president's post. But then again, there are a few more clauses. If this person is actually appointed as any government employee, he holds the office, he or she holds of the office of profit, which means they are earning from these offices under the government of India in any sorts, at any level, state, union, whatever, then this person will not be eligible. This person will have to resign from this position to assume the office of the president of the country. Okay, also bacha, a person who has already been elected as the president, okay, who has already been the president or who is currently president is eligible for re-election, which means a president who has already completed his term can do it once again consecutively or in some other time during some other term. It doesn't mean that you have once been a president, you cannot be a president again. Now, if you talk about the composition of electoral college, how does that happen? So, bacha, the president doesn't get elected directly, okay? The election of the president happens indirectly. Now, what do we mean by that? So, in general, the members of parliament, the members of legislative assembly, all these people are elected directly by the citizens of India, which means the elections happen and we go and ourselves vote for the people we want as our representatives, we want to see in the parliament or legislative assembly. But for president, we do not do that. Okay, how does the election of president happen? So we choose our representatives who on our behalf elect the president, and that is why indirect election is happening. We choose the representatives, MLAs, MPs, and they further go ahead and elect the president on our behalf. And that is why we are saying that it is an indirect election, because we are choosing the people who are further going to choose the president for the nation. Yeah. Now, what are the other criteria that needs to be fulfilled? So, bacha, the president has to give a security deposit of 15,000 if he has to stand for the election, if he wants to participate in the election of president. Also, this deposit earlier was 2,500 rupees. Some terms and conditions have been changed. We will also see further what other conditions have been changed. So this deposit was just 2,500 rupees earlier, which has now been made 15,000. Now, what kind of election does happen? What is the nature of the voting? So the system of proportional representation by means of the single transferable vote is the system that is followed, and it is done. The voting is done in secret ballot. As you know, people will write what they who are they voting for, and they fold the chit and they put it in the ballot. It's not shown to anybody. It's not a public voting. It's done in secret. You will not get to know who am I voting for, or the other members of the electoral college are voting for. Now, why is this done? First of all, let's understand what is the system of proportional representation. So, bacha, what happens is, if there are 4 candidates, or let's say 5 candidates, any number of candidates, each and every person of this college, of the group who is doing the election, who is electing them, are supposed to vote in order. Now, what do I mean by that? They will vote in order of preferences. Normally, when you go and vote, you only vote for one person you want as your representative. But when that happens, when the election happens for the election of president, it doesn't happen like that. People will take a chit on which they will write, my first preference is candidate number C. My second preference is candidate number A. My third preference is candidate number B, and so on and so forth. They basically give the order that, okay, if this person doesn't get selected, my second preference would be this person. Okay. Now the elections, now the votes will be counted. So the first preferences of every person will be taken who has voted. Now, if after the first preference itself, one person gets majority, which is above 50% of vote, 51 votes and above, then that person becomes the president. But if that does not happen, then what will happen? The person who has got the least number of votes, okay, if let's say a person D, the candidate D got the least number of votes, then he will be moved out of the election, and then his votes, the votes that he had received, those votes will be taken, and then those votes will be opened and checked what were the second preferences in those votes that the candidate who got removed from this election had received. Okay, so now the second preference of the votes which are now extra of the candidate who is out of the election process will be checked, and then those votes will be distributed as per the references. And if majority is attained for one person above 50%, like more than 51 seats, 51% seats, then that person becomes the president. Otherwise, the same process is followed till the point we get absolute majority for this person, and this process is known as system of proportional representation by the means of single transferable vote. Now, why is this done, bacha? The idea of this is that the votes should not be wasted. It's not like, okay, if I voted for this candidate and this candidate is out of the elections process, is not getting elected, then my vote should not get wasted. My choice should always be taken into consideration. Okay, and just in case if there is any dispute in the process of election of the president, then Supreme Court has the power to resolve that dispute. Now, if you talk about what is the composition of electoral college, who all can be a part of this group who actually elects the president. So, first of all, let's understand who are the candidates who actually contest in the election. So, bacha, at least 50 members of, have to nominate, have to propose a name, the MLAs and the MPs, the people of the parliament and the legislative assembly, 50 of them have to nominate, have to propose a name. Okay, now another 50 people have to second that, which means 50 of us have proposed this name, another 50 people will say yeah, we support them, we second what they are, the name that they are proposing. Earlier this number was just 10 had to propose and 10 had to second, which has now been changed, just with the amount like 2,500 changed to 15,000. After that, we decide based on this who all will be there as the contestants, okay, who will be there in the election that people will be voting for. Once that's done, then we come to the composition of the electoral college, people who actually vote. So So bacha, these people, as I told you, have to be elected members of parliament of both houses, Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha. At the same time, they also have to be from the legislative assemblies, including the UTs of Pondicherry and also Delhi. Guys, people who are a part of the Sabha, okay, of the parliament, but are nominated members will not be eligible to vote. Now you might be thinking, ma'am, who are these nominated members? So we'll get to know about this. In fact, these nominated members are chosen by, are nominated by the president only, and we will see it when we discuss about his powers. But let me just quickly clarify for you that only the people who have been elected directly by the citizens of India are eligible to elect the president. If there is any member in the parliament who is nominated, not elected by the citizens, he is not eligible to elect the president. Okay, now reasons of indirect election. Why are we not directly electing the president and doing an indirect election when everyone else, all the other representatives are elected directly by the people? So bacha, the real reason is that Jawaharlal Nehru himself said that if we are going to directly elect the president, he becomes the rival of the center power, right? Center of power, which means he becomes somewhere the rival of the prime minister also. And then we also have to give him the real powers, which is not given to him right now. He's just the nominal head. If you see, in real terms, the prime minister becomes the head that way when it comes to powers, real powers, right? So if he gets elected directly, he will become a rival. Also, true power, real powers will have to be given to him. He will no more be just the head of the state, just the nominal head. Yeah. Also, what happens, see, the government that is being formed will have majority in the parliament, naturally in the Lok Sabha. And then the idea was to also avoid the nomination of the president from the ruling party alone. Okay, why? Because see, as I was telling you, that if election is happening directly by the citizens, then there will be a party which will be having its majority. Then naturally the president will be selected from that party only. And that party alone will have the idea, have the power to select the president. Now people did not want to do that, and what was the idea behind it? But the president, we are saying, is the head of the state. He's the, he's the first citizen of the state, of the country. He cannot be biased, or he cannot be not chosen, or he cannot be representing the entire nation. So what happens right now when indirect elections is happening? Who all are electing? Each and every person, each and every representative who is representing each and every group of the country right now is participating in the election, right? Which means that all the groups, all the citizens of the India, their voice is being clearly expressed. Also they voiced out, and also they are being represented in an indirect manner. But if direct elections were happening, only the majority chunk would have been represented, and that would have not been wise because he's the head of the state. So both the houses of the parliament and legislative assembly, like central, state, all the levels, all the citizens are being represented, because their representatives are selecting the president, are electing the presidents, not president, not selecting. Sorry. Now, if we talk about term of office, how long does the president hold the office? So, bacho, the term is 5 years, just like every other term in our nation. But just in case if the president wants to resign before that, he can actually put his letter of resignation addressing it to the vice president. Then it is the duty of the vice president to inform about this to the speaker of the Lok Sabha. Yeah. Also, the president can be removed if he violates any condition, any rule of the constitution. Basically, if he violates the constitution, he can be removed. The process of impeachment takes place then. Now, what is impeachment? What is this process? So let's understand this. So, bacha, presentation of formal charges against the official authority, okay, is known as, this is basically the process of impeachment. This is done if there is any violation against the constitution. If anything unconstitutional is done by the president, then this person is removed. Okay, now this can be, charges can be leveled up by any house of the parliament. Any house of the parliament can do this. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, any upper house, lower house, it doesn't matter. And what happens is that this resolution, it's basically a 14 days notice in writing. Now it has to be signed by both the houses, and how it works is that at least 1/4 of the total number of members should pass it, should sign it, and it cannot be less than 2/3 of the total number. Also guys, as I told you, any of the two houses, any one of the two houses can actually level these charges. Now if the upper house is leveling the charge, then the investigation, the whole thing will be taken care by the lower house, and vice versa. Okay, so at this time the president has the right to appear and also to represent himself, try to present his argument or whatever, but this right has been given to the president. Okay, the other house of the parliament, as I told you, will do the investigation. If upper house has done it, then lower house will investigate. If lower house has presented the resolution, then the upper house will investigate it, and it has to be passed, the resolution has to be passed by the charge of 2/3 majority. If that is there, then the resolution is passed, and through that resolution the president gets removed if the impeachment, if the violation of the constitution is proven. Okay, now what are the powers of the president? What are the different powers that the president executes? And you might also be thinking, ma'am is saying that the president is the nominal head, then how does he has powers? So bacha, prime minister is definitely more powerful in real terms than the president, but he is the head of the state. So let's see what are the powers that he executes. So as you know, as per your revised syllabus, we do not have to cover all the powers: financial power, judicial power, all these powers have been removed. We will be talking about executive powers, legislative powers, and all these things as we move on further: emergency powers and discretionary powers. So these are basically the 4 major powers that we will be discussing. Okay, so let's begin with executive powers. So bacha, as I told you, he is the head, right? He's the head of the nation, and he's also the head of the union administration. All the orders, okay, are passed, are issued in his name. Everything comes under the name of president, any order that is passed. Also, all the officials are actually his subordinate, which means he is the head of all the union officials. Now he also has the control over state government. See, whatever the state government is doing, they do get the directions from the union government. But when there is the president's rule, when president's rule is in place, then all the power, all the decision has to be made by the union government only. Then there is a complete rule of the president. Okay, then of course union territories and border areas, these are the administrations which are completely taken care or are responsibility of the president. Also bacha, the president is the person who does the appointment of certain key posts to run the government, like that of the council of ministers, of the prime minister, chief of justice, and so on and so forth. There's the list right in front of you. All these officials are actually appointed by the head of the state, which is our president. Okay, now if we talk about the legislative power, what are the powers? So the idea, the address, not the idea, the power of the president is that he will actually address the sessions of the parliament for the following conditions. After general election, when the parliament, when the houses are coming for the first time, okay, after general elections, then he could address either both the houses or the joint session of the parliament. He will address that. Also, the first session of the year is when the commencement of the first session happens, the president addresses that as well. Also guys, in these whenever he's addressing it, what are the things that he discusses about? He mostly emphasizes on the internal and the external policies of the government is what is discussed by the president. Okay, now he also has the power to send a message to the parliament on a pending bill. If there is a bill which has been pending for a very long period of time, he can send a message to the parliament about it, and also on other matters, but majorly about this. He can also summon and prorogue the houses, guys. If but this is of course a little subjective. It is subjected if the gap, the gap between 2 sessions should not be more than 6 months. If he feels that that is going to happen, it is subjected to that, then he can summon the houses. And why does that happen? So see, usually 3 sessions are going to happen for sure. In the beginning of the year, the budget session happens, then somewhere around July the monsoon session happens, and then towards the end the winter session happens. For whatever reason, if any of the sessions have not happened and the gap is going to increase above 6 months, then the president can summon these houses. Okay. The president also has the power to dissolve the Lok Sabha. He cannot dissolve the Rajya Sabha because it is a permanent body. It cannot be dissolved. But the Lok Sabha can be dissolved and he has the power to do it. Now guys, if you remember, during election I told you there are few members of this parliament which are nominated. And this nomination is actually done by the president. So around 12 members of the Rajya Sabha are nominated by the president. And these members are mostly like scholars, experts in their own fields. If he feels that their expertise is needed, he would nominate them and they become the nominated members of the Rajya Sabha of the parliament. And there could also be 2 members of Anglo-Indian society community into the Lok Sabha if he feels that they're not being represented properly. Now guys, any law, any policy before becoming the law has to have the assent. The bill has to have the assent of the president. So see, we know any bill before becoming a law passes through both the houses of the parliament. Then the third important stage is assent by the president. If the president is not agreeing with it, is not giving the assent, he gives some recommendations and sends the bill back to the parliament. Okay. Now it is up to them to take those recommendations. Sometimes they also not take the recommendations. Okay, if they do not want to take those recommendations and do not want to make those changes, they can send back the bill to the president and then he will have to sign it. But mostly those things, whatever he's suggesting, see, he's the head of the state. He's in such an honorable place. He must make some very good points when he's giving any recommendation, right? So mostly these houses do consider it, but if they do not want to reconsider it, he will, the second time when it's sent back to him, he will have to give his assent. Okay. Also promulgate ordinance. So bacha, what do we mean by that? What is ordinance? Ordinance is basically law. Now guys, as I told you, whenever a law is made, it has to pass from both the houses, correct? But what if those houses are not in session? So the president has the power to kind of make a decree, a law, which is known as ordinance, if these houses are not in session. But those are subjected to a lot of things. If he feels that it is absolutely necessary and circumstances are such that he needs to pass the ordinance, only then he should pass it. Then of course it is necessary that both the houses are not in session. The moment these houses reassemble, the very first thing that needs to be done is that this has to be brought up on the floor for the house to pass it. See, that's the act of parliament. Okay. Any law, any policy that is being passed is act of parliament, and in order to sustain, in order to be there for a long period of time, it has to be an act of parliament. The life of the ordinance is only of 6 weeks. So that's why the moment, and it's not possible that in those 6 weeks the session wouldn't have been in place. Just in case if that happens, then after 6 weeks the ordinance will lapse on its own. But if the houses come in session, then it is presented on the floor. If they do not approve of it, then also it gets lapsed. If they approve of it, then it becomes act of parliament, then also it gets lapsed. Okay, and after, let's say if it's getting in process, not approved, and so and so and forth, after 6 weeks it will automatically get lapsed, guys. Okay, so another power of the president is assent to some state bills. So usually, bacha, the governor would keep certain bills of the state to be taken through the president. Okay, so these bills have to be of the state legislature taken through his consideration. Okay, and then of course formation of new state. Whenever new boundaries or the boundaries are being moved or new states are being formed, it has to happen that introduction of the bill has to be done by the president only. So that was basically our execution powers. Now if we talk about discretionary powers, legislative powers, we have done 2 powers, right? Execution and legislatory. So now we're going to discuss discretionary power. Now discretion, what do we mean by discretion? But discretion is when it is left up to you to make the decision. What choice do you make? So there are certain things in certain conditions where we leave it up to the president. These are basically gray areas. The rules are not very well defined. So we leave it up to the president to make decision as per his understanding. And it's mostly related to the appointment of prime minister. And what are the conditions under this? Suppose after election, any party was not able to have its majority. Okay, no single party was able to come up with its majority in Lok Sabha. Then he has the power to appoint the Prime Minister. Okay, then of course in case of sudden death, right, if some assassination happens, so there's a certain death, then the office is left empty, then he has the power again to appoint a Prime Minister. Also bacha, if no confidence vote is given and the Lok Sabha the government is going to be brought down, then in this case he has the power either to dissolve the Lok Sabha, or he can actually give the offer to another party to prove its majority. Either way, he has this power where it is up to his discretion that whatever he chooses. Also, when there is a vote of the confidence, no confidence, when the Council of Ministers says that they have lost confidence in the House, then he has the power to dismiss the ministers. Okay, if they are not ready to resign, then that's what he can do. So that's basically, those are his discretionary powers. Then he has some emergency powers as well. Now, what is emergency? So, bunch of conditions which are unforeseen, which you cannot predict, which we are not aware of, that can happen. All of a sudden, some emergency condition has come and the action has to be taken immediately. In such conditions, he exercises these powers. Okay, national emergency. Now, what is national emergency? When there is a danger to the nation and its security, to the peace and the security of the people of the country, either from foreign aggression, it could be because of the terrorists or other foreign other countries which is being a threat, or it could be internal also. The citizens could also be a threat, when civil war or some other kind of aggression is being shown by the citizens. In this case, he can announce the national emergency. Also, when the constitutional machinery is not working, not functioning properly, there's a deadlock. In this condition also, he can exercise his emergency powers. And then of course, when there is a breakdown, when there's a setback in terms of finances, there's no financial stability, then also he can exercise his emergency powers. As you see, bacha, all of these are very, very adverse conditions. In these conditions is where the president exercises his emergency powers. And that's pretty much about president. Don't forget, guys, that who the president is, what are his powers, and what are the different situations in which he exercises it. Okay, and of course, those are the problems when the country faces when he exercises emergency powers. We have some emergency powers for you also. In your emergencies, like when you are not sure when to solve your doubts, what notes to refer, how to get good amount of tests and assignments for your practice so that you are absolutely sure that you're going to rock it in your board exams. How do you prepare yourself for competitive exams, and what kind of schedule, what choice of schedule should you follow? All of these problems with choice of language is also there. So all of these problems have now been solved for you guys with great bonuses. You get unlimited live classes where you can get all your doubts solved. The teacher would be right there for you. You can have direct one-on-one conversation, which will give you good amount of time to have great personalized attention by the class teachers and by the master teachers themselves. At the same time, there's going to be in-class doubt solving. All of the doubts will be solved with in-class live performance reports, which gives you the exact understanding of where you are, how well prepared you are, what are certain things you need to work on, and where do you stand in comparison to so many other people. It gives you a real-time check of your understanding, which we long for anyway, right? And just in case if you miss on any topic or you need extra assistance, you have access to all the micro courses, all the crash courses, which happens on a daily basis. You can always go and check them out and attend them, and you will never feel like, hey, I missed this live session and what do I do now, and how do I interact with the teacher? You can do it through the crash courses, guys. And what do you need to do in order to do this? All you need to do is go on the link that is given in the description box or pinned in the comment section. Go choose your grade, choose your board, check out all the details that's there, and then just click on the get subscription button. You will get 3 options: 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months, 3 packages. Choose whatever is the best for you. If you feel you just want to give it a try, go ahead with 1 month. If you feel your preparation would be done in 3 months, then go ahead with 3 months. If you feel 6 months is what you need to spend the time with us and make sure that you get through your board exams and rock it, then go ahead with 6 months. And actually 6 months is a jackpot because that's the place where you get the maximum discount. The plan which was for 11,499 is now just for 9,199 rupees. If you actually do the calculation, it costs you less than 10 rupees per day, which is the amount we anyway spend on chocolates, snacks, chips, this and that on a daily basis. Why not avail it with Vedantu and enjoy all of the pro subscription privileges? As I told you, all you need to do is go on this description link, on this link which is given in the description box, or the link which is pinned in your comment section. And guys, follow all these steps, and in the end you have to choose that you have a coupon code and apply the coupon code AKEPRO, as you can see over here, given right over here. This is my code. If you do not apply this bacha, you will not be able to avail the discount. So make sure you are using this code no matter which subscription, which package you go ahead with. Make sure you are taking up this code and availing all the discount that is there for you. And I will see you guys in the next session. But before that, let's quickly look at the homework question. Who among the following is not the members of the Electoral College? So the Electoral College which elects the president, who out of the following options is not a member of that? Guys, don't forget, put your answers in the comment section. Also put your doubts in the comment section, because we pick for both the things from the comment section. For the doubt and the mentee session, I will be taking your doubts from the comment section. For the winners of the next session, also we will be taking your names from the comment section only. And don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed the video and you have understood the role of the president and his power in the country. And I will be coming up with the next part of the session very soon, where we'll be discussing about the Prime Minister. So guys, stay tuned. If you have not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you're hitting on that little bell icon and subscribing to the channel, so that the moment we come up with the next video, you get the notification immediately. And I will see you guys then. Till then, stay home, stay safe guys, take good care of yourself. Have a great evening ahead. Bye bye.